You're listening to Always Building.
All right, welcome to Always Building. Extremely excited today to have Xavier Coiffard. Am I saying that right? My French is terrible. But anyway, we're very excited to have him on the podcast today, and we're going to be talking about some really fun stuff. We're going to be talking about SaaS. I think we're going to be talking about info products, being a digital creator, entrepreneur, and everything like that. So welcome, and I'd love to just kick it off by learning a bit about your journey and where you come from, and kind of your experiences leading up to where you are now, and later on we'll get into the future. So let's just kick it off that way, Javier.
Cool, thanks for having me. I'm Xavier Coiffard, which is like super hard to pronounce for English speakers. So I'm a French guy. I spent the last 12 years in tech, started as a developer and then joined a few startups. Went to San Francisco for a year, go back to France, and then I've been indie hacker for the last 15 months, something. And I started my indie hacker journey with a challenge. I wanted to learn fast, so I launched 6 products in 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what were those 6 products? Can we kind of like dip into that a little bit? What that looked like?
Yeah, so my very first one is spreadtheword.net. So it's a big list of 400 places where you can post and promote your startups. It's still live. The second one is idehunt.net. And the idea of this was like a kind of product hunt, but for IDs, a way for indie hackers and makers to validate their IDs. It stopped. I never really pushed it after the launch. Then I created a job board for French developers that want to go fully remote. That's remotefr.com. Then I created User Booster, which is a Notion template for to build your launch strategy and get your first users. Userbooster.co. Then I wanted to make things a little bit complicated. So I created a SaaS, which is pipesocial.co again, and .io, sorry. It's a CRM for Twitter DMs. And then my last product is a community marketing for makers. And so I stopped the challenge after 6 products before the summer of 2021, and now I'm focusing on growing the product. So I stopped a few of them, and then I'm focusing on growing the others.
Got a quick question for you on that, real quick. So as far as like when you felt, what was the decision to stop some of the projects? Like, was it that you kind of weren't as passionate about those projects, or was it that you weren't getting as much traction, or kind of like what was your decision process to kind of stop a project? I think that can help a lot of people, because a lot of people ask me that. When do you stop a project?
Yeah, that's a very tough decision. So when I started the challenge of 6 and 6, I know that I would love to stop a few of them, and that was also something I wanted to learn to do. Stopping products. Because I met a lot of founders trying to push and push and push a product that is not working. So I wanted to learn how to stop. And that's a tough question and a tough topic. I'm not sure I really cracked the code here for now. So I stopped Ideation, so the product hunt for IDs. And I stopped it because I have no business plan for it. No way to make money out of it. It's a marketplace, so it needs a huge traffic generation, and so huge effort of traffic generation. And after a few weeks after the launch, I didn't have any, significant traffic and no business in mind, so I just stopped it. So the job board for French people is also something I haven't stopped yet, but I haven't pushed it yet either. Again, same issue. It's really dependent of the traffic you can generate. And so job boards are super easy to build. But if you don't have any traffic, that's super hard to monetize. And so I pushed it a bit. generate some traffic, but yeah, I think I'm gonna either stop it or pivot it into a newsletter or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't have the time to create the content and put the efforts to do all the SEO stuff to make it really grow. So yeah, that's a lot about can you do what's your ROI of it, how much traffic you can drive, and how much effort you want to put to drive the traffic.
You're totally right about the marketplace angle, because the job board is kind of like that too, right? You have it's almost like you're running two businesses. You need to be getting the people posting the jobs, and you need to get the people applying for the jobs, or you need to get the people that are the suppliers and the demand, and it's almost like running two businesses.
Yeah, and I really think that that can be a great business. Obviously, there is some huge job board out there, but it's a lot about being lucky or in the right timing. You can call it either way, I think. But yeah, it's a lot of being in the trends. I see recently a big job board, don't remember the name, about Web3 jobs. And it gets a lot of traction because it's like super trendy right now. So it gets a lot of traffic. And when you have a lot of traffic, you get, obviously revenue coming with. So yeah. But
yeah, it's so much search traffic for that right now too, I bet.
Yeah. So it's pretty much about being in the right time, in the right place. And when you're not, you can still do it, but it demands like a huge effort of marketing, content generation, at least for years, maybe months or years.
Yeah. No doubt. And so I want to back it up a little bit real quick. I got a couple of questions for you on this topic, but we can kind of back it up a little bit. I'm curious, to kind of dive into your your education background, and did you go to college, and did you how were you the typical entrepreneur type that didn't do well in the schooling environment, or because I've met a couple of people in these podcasts that they did really well in school and they still kind of went down that path. I'm just kind of curious, sort of where you're coming from in that sense.
Okay, so yeah, no, I'm not from Stanford and stuff. So I went to college and university to become an engineer at this time. But mechanical engineer, so doing stuff for big, in the industry, big stuff in the industry, and these kind of things. I learned how to code a bit during my school years, not so much, just a bit. And I was very, very passionate about scuba diving at this time. So when I was 21, I just decided to stop the schools and go full-time scuba diving. So I became a scuba diver instructor.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So I did this for 6 or 7 years. And I was kind of bored because during the winters, because in France, winters are pretty cold. Yeah. So I was doing code for fun during the winters and scuba diving during the summers. And I stopped scuba diving because I wanted to do something else. So I went full-time coding after this.
That's so cool, man. And do you still scuba dive and
yeah.
That's so awesome.
I'm still doing it, not professionally, just fully for fun, and that's much better now, I think.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's a good topic also that I wanted to get into, because it's passion, it's easy to have like a lot of passion about something, like I used to want to be a pro skateboarder when I was like a teenager, right, growing up in California, and then I wanted to be a yada yada, right, all these things, and just it never but I'm curious kind of what you think about, like, do you have passion in building products and in marketing and in coding and all that kind of stuff, the same kind of passion, do you think, as scuba diving, or do you feel like it's what's the balance between kind of like passion and making a living and these kinds of things?
Yeah, so I stopped scuba diving because I just burned out. kinda. That's weird to say that because people, when they think about scuba diving, or I guess that's the same for pro skating, they think, yeah, that's fun, that's a holiday, you do fun all the time. But the reality is kind of not this easy. You don't have a good salary. You're doing always the same task. That's super, super repetitive. So that's why I burn out kind of and wanted to stop. And yeah, I'm super motivated by and passionate about creating stuff. And I think that's from even when I was in university. So I told you, mechanical engineers, but that way to create stuff. So that's really always the same passion, I guess. Create new stuff, learn new stuff. So that's why I started coding, because that's a way to create stuff. And now I'm more into marketing, but again, that's about creating new stuff, making life, giving life to product and this kind of projects. So yeah, always super passionate about stuff. And to be honest, I cannot really work if I'm not passionate. It's like super hard for me to keep going if I don't have the passion.
I know. I hear you there. Yeah, that's great. That's a great explanation of it. I think, you can find passion in multiple places, right? And now that you're doing that for fun, being a professional athlete or a professional instructor or something like that is very stressful, very taxing, right? So that's really great. So I'm curious to get your angle on this. This is a big topic that I think about a lot. I ruminate a lot about, and it's hard to get a clear answer. I don't think there is a clear answer. I think it depends on the person. But from your perspective, you've got some people. So you did the 6 products in 6 months thing. So you've got I guess you've got a couple of different schools of thought on entrepreneurship, right? You got the one that's like 100% focus into one thing, just brutally, like your whole life taken up by this one thing, and you want to build it up to be like a multi-million-dollar, multi-employee, growth oriented juggernaut of a project, right? There's this kind of angle that you hear, and then you have kind of the other angle where that's equally as valid and equally as kind of like represented out there in the world. I think that's the small bet, like many small bet, like take a lot of small bets and kind of find what works and sort of like go steer more deeper into that one or whatever, right? And I'm curious kind of your perspective on it seems like you're more of a small bets guy. I am as well, but I'm kind of curious like what your thoughts are on that, and what you think. Do you see yourself kind of using this as a vehicle to get to that sort of singular focus point, or are you sort of like very passionate about just making a bunch of shit, and you're not really concerned if it's like $1 million, kind of juggernaut or what have you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I used to work for, again, startups. And so that was about being all in on that product, working on the same product for years. And I was kind of bored about it. And I discovered Daniel Vassallo. I'm sure you know Daniel Vassallo, the guy about small, right? Yeah. And he's talking a lot about a portfolio of small bets. And so again, as an engineer or coder, I tend to want to make like super, super complicated apps, big ships that need a lot of money and stuff, and that will conquer the world and everything. And one day I met, like through Twitter, Daniel Vassallo, and he was talking about how he made $100,000 from a video. And that's blew my mind. I was like, what?
Yeah.
and that's totally like made me thinking about the need of going all in, wasting sometimes years of your life on one project only. And yeah, I think he's super, super smart about the portfolio and he's saying that this is a world of uncertainty. Entrepreneurship is like super random, And if you go all in, it's like super risky. But if you can to create some portfolio or small bet and double down on the bet that works, then the risk is really, really lower. So yeah, I wanted to try it. That's one reason why I started the 6 and 6, because I wanted really to try it and see if I can make a living out of like super, super simple product.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing simpler really than a Notion, dashboard. So yeah, and I wanted to zoom in on that as well in this interview because it's very impressive. I mean, I think a lot of people can be very impressed by how simple things can be at this stage of the digital. I don't know how to say it in the digital product, game or environment, right? Is like, so how did you decide, like, when did you decide to kind of do that Notion dashboard, and what was the thought process like of using Notion, and kind of, did you ever have that thought of like, is this even like, how do I don't know, how do I even package this up as something, where did you find the value in it, and why did you sort of pursue the Notion dashboard?
So yeah, the Notion dashboard idea came from my first product, because my first product is a list of again 400 places where you can promote your startup. And so I created this list because I saw a lot of people in the indie hackers community saying that they don't know how to get their first users. So I said, okay, I will just create or curate a bunch of startup directories, Facebook groups, Slack groups, and this kind of stuff. So I made it as my third product. And then I had a lot of positive feedback, but also feedback from users saying that they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to post on communities. They didn't know how to launch on product hunt. Same for Hacker News and this kind of, kind of scary communities. They didn't know how to use Reddit. So that was one part of the ideation process. And in the other end, there were a lot of trend about Notions, templates or dashboard. And this time, Janelle created the newsletter OS. And that inspires me a lot to create kind of the same, but for startups launch. So that's what I created, why I created User Booster.
Really, really cool. Yeah. So seems like there was a lot of customer feedback, not customer feedback, but just sort of community feedback from indie hackers and other places. And I know that you talk about that a lot. You're very, you're a big proponent of, like you said, not wasting years of your life, which I would agree that would be a good thing to do. So how do you go about collecting, feedback, and kind of, I know that you're planning on launching a new product soon and stuff, and we had talked about that privately, and I'm curious, what kind of your steps are to sort of get that sort of feedback, if a product seems valid in the market and if you want to actually pursue it.
Yeah. So the usual way is to spend a lot of time talking with people, study the market and stuff. And so I try to do to launch as soon as possible. That's the better validation. So either trying pre-orders or just building the product with no code and try to push it and see if there is some feedback. So what I do usually is trying to validate the idea with DMs. So I just jump on Twitter DMs with people, like 20 people or 30 people, and talk about my idea and see what is the feedback. Is it good or not? And then if the feedback is good, and just try to push something, create something. Just, it can be like super simple. Just create like a Gumroad landing page with pre-orders, and you push it out there, and you see if there is some pre-orders. And that's the best validation you can get. So I'm trying to do it this way. Just push it as fast as possible, and just see if there is some traction. And if it's no traction, just trash it and go to another idea.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great. It takes a lot of discipline to be able to to trash an idea, I guess, I think for many people, that's a very painful, it's like, people go for perfection, I guess, like the general feeling of, and I'm sure in mechanical engineering as well, and things like that, right? It's kind of, beat into you, like, that you have to have it perfect, operating perfectly first, right? Before all that stuff. So how did you kind of make the transition of sort of being like, hey, look, if something's not working, I'm just going to trash it and move on and like not get emotionally attached to it. Like, do you have any, tips for people that are having a hard time getting attached and getting stuck to something,
No, I'm sorry, but I don't. That's really, really hard. Yeah. And the more time you spend on a product, the harder it is to trash it. So that's why I try to be as fast as possible. I had no feelings when I trashed ID Hunt.
Yeah.
Because I worked like 10 days or maybe 15 days on it, tried to promote a bit, and then that was not working, obviously, so I just trash it. But so my fifth product is a SaaS, a CRM for Twitter, DMs.
Yes.
And I worked a lot of it on it, and it's not really working. I guess I didn't find the product market fit yet. And I'm about to trash it, but that's hard because I spent months building it, promoting it and stuff, and it's not working. Like if you just see the metrics and stuff, it's not working, but it's super hard to trash. So yeah, I have no like magic formula or something to trash it without any feelings. It's just super hard to do.
Yeah, I guess it depends a lot. It depends. I think SaaS also is one of those things that it's a little stickier, Like I feel like the info product idea, you can kind of be like, okay, yeah, it's not working, I'll just throw it away. But the SaaS, it's like, it's a good idea and it could work. Well, yeah, so pipesocial.io, I think, definitely take a look at that if you're listening and just, check it out. And it's a good example, I think, of something where it's a great idea and maybe it's just not quite picking up traction in the right, maybe you're not like that product market fit's not right. And I think it's good to study these things. So that kind of leads me to failure, to talking about failure a little bit. I think this is, it's a debated topic. I had somebody ask me the other day about it, and I was like, I don't consider things as failures too readily. I try to consider them just like a stepping stone to the next thing and to the next project and to the next open your mind to something that you didn't know was possible, and then you kind of didn't work, but it's okay, right? And so I'm curious your thoughts on failure, and if you have any notable failures in the past that you can mention that sort of maybe walk us through that you felt that way, or whatever your mindset is on failure there.
Yeah, I really think that failure is a way to learn. So again, Pipe Social, I made a bunch of mistakes. First, I didn't make any pre-orders, so I just put in a waiting list at this time. And I got like 100 something people in the waiting list in a few hours. So I was like, wow, that's validation. Super cool. And so I built, and then when I launched it, there is no signups, barely. And so that was my first failure, I think, or mistake. So yeah, that's okay. Yeah, failure are okay. That's a great way to learn. The only thing is, don't take it personally first, and find a way to, I don't know, don't impact the people that are working with you, because sometimes you're breaking some friends or people that you met, partnership and this kind of stuff. And failure when you have partnership with people, that's pretty hard to handle sometimes. But as soon as it's just business that you crashed alone, that's totally okay. And just a nice way to learn.
Yeah, that's really important. What you said too about having partners and having employees and sort of keeping the morale, and the culture, healthy, even in the midst of failure. It's hard to be a founder, man. I mean, I guess, it can be tough. And I guess that's, I don't know if if there's a question in there, but your thoughts on sort of, how, I guess I'm curious how you're sort of, staying mentally healthy, and I'm sure the scuba diving helps, for a hobby and everything. But that's pretty relaxing. But I'm curious, sort of how that looks, to you, and to people that are considering becoming a founder, considering creating products, considering starting with services, things like this. Like what your tips are overall, just from your experience.
Yeah, my number one tips should be try to surround yourself with people like you, like
Yeah.
with other founders, or maybe founders with experience, or this kind of people, because entrepreneurship is a super lonely process. Nobody knows what you're doing. Even you don't know what you're doing. Just guessing all the time, trying stuff and failing most of the time. So yeah, that can be pretty tough. So yeah, surround yourself. So there is a lot of communities out there that you can be a member of, like Indie Hackers again, Reddit, maybe Product Hunt has a nice community as well, or even build your own community. But yeah, don't be lonely on this kind of stuff. That's super hard, super hard.
That's great. That's great advice. And so you built a community, and it's m4m.so. And I'm curious, maybe you can talk about that a little bit. And did you build that sort of out of what you just said, out of the spirit of what you just said, like out of the need to sort of build a community that sort of like resonated with you specifically on your path? Or is that something that like what's kind of like the spirit of that community, and why did you build it, and how did you build it?
So I always learned my skills with the community. From the beginning of me being a coder 12 years ago, I learned through like ERC. It was a text-based chat at the time.
Yeah.
Forums at this time. And now all my Indie Hacker journey was powered by again Indie Hackers community or Reddit, so I'm a big fan of communities, and so that was one reason for sure. And also after launching Spread the Word and User Booster, I noticed that a lot of people didn't know how to do marketing.
Yeah.
And also a lot of people don't want to do marketing because most of the Indie Hackers are developers or coders, and they don't know how to market stuff. They are afraid of it. And so, yeah, I wanted to make a community to help them and to say, that's not bad to do marketing. You can do it as well.
Well, it sounds like you're kind of solving your own problem a little bit too. Like maybe you were having a bit of nervousness about marketing in the past too. So it's almost like you're solving your own problem from the past.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that I've been learning recently. It seems like kind of a cheat code in this world, in this kind of an entrepreneur space, is like, the solving your own problems, kind of like having experience, like throwing yourself out there in the world, having these experiences, and then kind of reverse engineering, like solving your problems from like, what would me 5 years ago like really need right now,
Yeah, it is, but it's also a trap, I think. Or if you're trying to solve only the product that you have like a few years ago, then you are in the bubble. And you can see it a lot for Indie Hackers community. There is people creating product for Indie Hackers by Indie Hackers. It's like a small bubble of people in a closed market.
Yeah,
and I did it a lot. But I think it can be a trap as well. And it can be also a good idea to go elsewhere and try to solve problem for people that are not like you. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and yeah, start with your own itches. Scratch your own itches first, because that's the easiest, and you are the beta tester for all your product. So that's super easy. Right. Then when you are used to create product, try to go out there and find issue or problems for other than your own community, I think.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think, the TAM, the total addressable market becomes the real, you really have to focus in on that. Now the TAM, is the TAM growing? Is the TAM, expanding? Are new people coming in? And it's definitely not a shortcut to not do the validation that you had mentioned, right? The process of validation still stands, and yeah, you never really know, right? You might just be a freak in this world who did some weird stuff, and you're solving a weird problem that nobody cares about, right?
Yeah.
So cool. So moving on, you know, as far as like where you're at now, and you know, yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you've moved extremely fast, like you said. It's like you're building 6 products in 6 months, you know, learning marketing, learning all this stuff on your feet, because you're not coming from a mechanical engineering background. You're not coming from a natural like marketing and you know, background. You weren't like a sales rep, or
No.
you never like engaged in this kind of you know, in the whatever the killing floor, you know, kind of marketing sales stuff. Where do you kind of see like your learning right now going forward? Like what are you excited about sort of pursuing and learning more about, and like what you know, what's exciting you right now?
So I think a lot about productivized services right now. I have a few ideas in mind. I already shot a few DMs to try to validate the ideas. Not sure about it now, but I love what designjoy.co is doing. You know, unlimited design for a fixed fee. Like, that's super smart. And I'm sure you can just do it for other you know, sectors of activity. I also love what Dustin is doing with Marvel.so. That's super smart as well. So definitely productivized services is getting my attention lately. And also always thinking about new SaaS ideas. Again, I have a few SaaS ideas in mind. I'm not sure if I'm going to tackle it, but yeah, always that's so. Yeah, I did the 6 in 6, and then after 6 months, I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop and try to grow products. And after a few months of growing products, I'm like, I want to build new stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I'm back again in the building mood. So yeah, I think I'm gonna build a few more, and maybe not one every month, but definitely want to build more. That's fun.
And do you have I'm curious, so like I guess the question's a bit weird, but I guess are you looking at when it comes to these projects, like if you're building multiple projects and you know, you're kind of you know, you're doing the launch, right? You're getting the initial users, you're kind of getting the momentum going, and getting some traction. And if it gets some traction, right, you're like focusing in on it. When you do that, are you ever looking at an acquisition? Have you ever done an acquisition? Any of that kind of stuff? Is that sort of on your mind as far as like the end goal? And because it sounds like you're not the kind of person that wants to, like, you know, okay, now we get into marketing and it's just marketing, everyday marketing. And you know, do you feel that next step is sort of acquisitions? And have you thought about that at all?
You mean selling my product? Any of my product?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not feel like any of them is really ready for acquisition, but that's definitely something that can be a great move. You know, just trying to do with now we have microacquire.com.
Yeah.
So you can sell super small product, like not super small, but yeah, just building a micro SaaS and selling after a year. That's also something that could be great. And also maybe buying a new product, not a new product, but buying a product directly on microacquire and trying to grow it is also something that I would like to test one day. So yeah, of course, yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned microacquire. They also have I also saw a new one the other day, Tiny Acquisitions. I don't know if you've seen these guys, but yeah, that was really that was also really intriguing to me. Kind of like going even smaller, right? And there were some really interesting products on there last time I checked. So a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I saw a tweet from Dan, the guy who built ilo.so. Saying that if you can build like a microservice every year and push it into like 1,000 MRR, then you can sell it for I don't know, like $100,000, something like
Yeah,
this, and then
definitely.
you do it every year, and you're good to go. And that's so, and
So
you,
cool.
yeah. So that's also something, but you need to be like super efficient in all the sectors. Yeah, doing great product, so coding it, building it, marketing it, growing it. That stuff. But yeah, if I could create a new product every year, push it into 1K MRR and sell it, I would be like super happy, because that's super exciting to build a new product every year, being focused on it and then sell it. And yeah.
That's amazing, man. It's great. I mean, I think it's very, like I said earlier, I feel like there's sort of two schools of, the way people go down this road, and it's many people shit on this side of it. Like I've noticed a lot of people kind of, that's, if you're not in the kind of creator, like indie hacker kind of community, you're hearing a lot of people going like, whoa, like that's not the way to do it. That's bad. That's, and I feel like, it's great to see you like going against the grain. And I feel like I'm kind of in the same school. I like to sort of like, I just love building things so much, that it's like, to build one thing and then have to maintain it. Like the maintenance is where I start to like fall off of it, like, and start to slide.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but being in the startup ecosystem for a few years, I saw a lot of people just struggling with their own product, and they didn't want to sell because that was their own product,
Oh
and
yeah.
and so they barely get any revenue from it, just wasting their time trying to push it harder. And so yeah, there is no. Yeah, that's a tough game. If you can, and I also saw a tweet from the guy, Andrew, the guy that create Micro,
Yes.
saying that if you can sell your product or sell your project for enough money to be like okay and even retire, then just do it. There is no second thought or something. Just do
Yeah,
it.
it's losing so much sleep and going through so much stress, and it's the dark side of that stuff that I think people don't like to talk about very often.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
super common, because we always talk about the company that survive and the company that raise money, the company that become rich and stuff. But in reality, there is like 90% of people that are failing, and then they are failing multiple times, and that's not fun at all, because that's not small bets. They are going all in each time, so
Yep.
that's really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really risky. It's really risky. Like you said earlier, you're kind of mitigating risk in it. I mean, again, too, it's a different spirit of person. It's kind of like a different sort of person. I feel like that, kind of, the person that just, I think it has a professional athlete bent to it a little bit. These people that just go like tunnel vision, into one thing. And,
Yeah.
but it's really cool to see kind of like, being more open. I mean, it's really awesome too to think, of the possibility that, you build a product, you get it to like 1,000, 1,200, MRR, which is not very difficult if you think about it. Like you could do a really good launch, and keep building your network like you are, and and everything like that, and launch a product and get to that almost overnight. I would think, if it's selling to the right market and everything, and then you do that, you sell that, and then you're just scuba diving for like 6 to 8 months, like hanging out on the beach, just having fun, right? Like it's
Yeah.
very low stress lifestyle just to do that, to build something great, launch it, and then sell it, and then
And then
somebody else loves to maintain things and build things and add features and blah blah blah, so they take it and they're happy and you're happy, and it's like a win-win.
That's a lot about being short-term oriented, or long-term oriented. And I'm probably mostly a short-term guy, even
Yeah.
though I can build stuff and heads down and for months. But yeah, nobody knows what tomorrow is about. And so if you can sell something that could give you a few months or a few years of free time, just do it and try to build new stuff. There is no second thought about it for me. Just
Really important. Really, I love this. I love your ethos on it, man. Well, one thing I wanted to kind of back up into real quick, if you don't mind, is sort of you're talking about productized or productivized services, which is something that I know pretty well, and I've been around for a long time. And I'm curious, sort of, you're kind of like coming from sort of this coding and SaaS info product kind of background, and you're talking about sort of pivoting into, starting to do some productized services. I'm very curious, number one, why you're enthused about the service side of the thing, and what you see as sort of like the challenges for you going into that, and kind of like what you see the benefits versus the challenges on that.
Yeah. Again, that's a lot about Daniel Vassallo. He tweets stuff that is super smart, like a few years ago. It's about creating a portfolio of small bets, but also diversifying the nature of incomes. So info products that they are super fast to build, but the revenue of it is like super versatile, volatile.
Yeah.
Super hard to predict. So that's one type of income that you can create pretty easily. Then you can do SaaS product, but SaaS product takes a lot of time to build and also a lot of time to grow. That grow exponentially, but pretty slowly.
Yep.
And then, so that's the second type of income. And then the third type of income is freelancing or selling your time or making services. And this is not super scalable, but you can have money right away. And that can be the type of income that pay your bills every month, no matter what. So that's pretty much why I started to think about productivized services, because so I did services before. I was a freelancer doing coding before, and I'm not a big fan of it, that stuff. And I'm not a big fan of selling my time.
Yeah.
But productivized services is a way to scale services in a way. So that's pretty interesting, even though you need time to make it run. That's not passive income for sure, but you can make some revenue without spending a lot of time, and you can scale it pretty easily. So that's why I wanted to, at least try one of them and see if it works or not, because it can, bring me like a stable revenue maybe, so I can spend time on SaaS, on more complicated products, more midterm bet or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that, and it's I think it takes a bit of humility to it's a real humble, like, humility booster, or it makes you very humble when you're doing services, I guess. It's very, SaaS can be so low touch, and info products can be so low touch that you kind of like are up on a mountain and you're like, okay, like, what am I going to do next? It's kind of like this. And, I think the services, they do kind of take you back into like, okay, like you're providing like direct value to somebody else. And, so you're thinking of doing like the unlimited, type of thing, like the unlimited, requests for a monthly fee.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I think
I recently saw one service that I was really interested in. I saw that they were hiring, and I saw kind of like the system that they were running, where they were paying freelancers per day to do the thing, and that was kind of how they were maintaining the model. And I got to send you the company. I totally forgot the name right now, but I'll send it over to you because it really inspired me. Actually, I saw it, and it was like they're paying insurance for the employees. They're doing like, it's really, really helpful for the employees and really helpful for the company too.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. So I thought of creating a productivized services for podcast.
Yes.
And also doing it for coding in a way. But it's a lot about building the right offer, I think. You create some smart, like DesignJoin is doing. DesignJoin is like doing super well because the offer is like obvious and super, super smart. So it's a lot about creating a offer that makes sense. And so for podcast, it's pretty easy. You can do either unlimited if you can, or the same as Marvel is doing, like a number of blog posts of podcast episode every month. But for coding, it's pretty more complicated. I didn't really crack the code yet. Not sure how I can do it, because coding can be like super large. You can do a lot of stuff with coding. Not sure you can really productivize it, but yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, coding seems like a real tough one to crack. Like I saw, have you seen lemon.io? Because these guys are,
Yeah.
they're like I think they kind of started with the idea of the productized thing, but they kind of like backed up and ended up becoming more of a recruiting thing, kind of deal. But yeah, really, really awesome company. I've been kind of impressed with recently in that space.
Yeah, they are more a marketplace of developer from Eastern Europe
Yes.
than really a productivized productivized services.
Yeah, but really, really, really cool process still. I kind of, I actually kind of checked them out in kind of like had the idea of working with them for matching with a coder, and it was really pleasant experience. Kind of had that productized feel to it, but it's like a marketplace. It's interesting, kind of how they're fusing that together. I guess it doesn't have to be like linear. But yeah, the podcast market seems huge as well.
Yeah. And the founder of Lemon.io is super nice. So yeah, it's a great company. I love the way they're doing it, because they are doing it's like a usual business. I mean, a lot of people is doing the same business, but they are super smart. The design also is like super disruptive. So the whole company is like, a big model for this, for the people in the space, I think.
No doubt. Yeah, the design is amazing. Yeah. And so like to sort of wrap things up, I think we've covered a lot. I'm really I'm amazed at the amount of things we've covered, because it's really, I think for anybody getting started and whether you're just getting started or whether you've kind of failed a couple times and you're kind of getting a little discouraged, I think there's a lot of advice in this episode. It's just it's like failure is a learning process, is and just kind of like finding that community and taking your small bets, getting passionate about what you're into, and just kind of following that path down the road. And I don't think you don't really believe. So how do you think, real quick, I actually have a quick question on that note, as far as like online courses go and things like this, have you taken a lot of courses, or do you believe that sort of path through a course has a lot of value, or do you feel that it's better just to throw yourself out there and just start shipping stuff like you kind of have done?
So yeah, I think you need to start with courses to learn the really basic stuff. That's the same for coding or for marketing. Just learn how to do stuff, and then once you know the basics, just do something and learn by doing. But still, start with the basics. That you can really start with. From scratch, you will probably waste a lot of time. And once you know the minimum, just trying to do something. And
Amazing.
That works for entrepreneurship, also for coding. Just, try to do something.
Amazing, man. Amazing. I think it's great advice. And this has been great. So thank you so much for being on. I want to quickly tell everybody listening. So definitely follow Xavier. His Twitter handle is N as in Nancy, ANGE Zanetti, ZANETTI, Ange Zanetti, or you can just search Xavier Coiffard. Coiffard. I think I got it. I'm getting it closer. Okay, great. I got it. Yes. So search for Xavier Coiffard or Angie Zanetti on Twitter. And it's really a great follow. He's always dropping really great wisdom, in my opinion, for people kind of looking to get going here, because it's hard, man. To just get started is the hardest thing. I think a lot of people, especially like people coming from the job background and kind of like, having the comfortable job, it's the hardest thing to just go, okay, like I'm going to go do something, it's just the most insecure, nothing is promised, and there's a lot of failure involved. But you can see from Javier's, legacy and everyone we've had on the podcast, it's just, if you just get going, get some momentum, get into those communities, get with like-minded people. It just helps so much. And his product is userbooster.co. Also, a huge resource to everybody listening right now. Like, get in there, get that product, and then you're going to have a resource for your launches, right? To look at your launches and to look at how to get those users and and do it the right way, do it the way that's that Javier's done it and seen success with. Also, the community M4M, the number 4 M4M.so. Get in there. There's some marketing, marketing for makers community. So this is, for, folks, launching products, doing things, and they're a little unsure about marketing. Like, you got to learn marketing. Marketing and sales are like the backbone of this stuff. You could be the best coder in the world, but you'll never, you can never make it unless you got the marketing, right?
Yep. Right.
So join that community, get into User Booster, and check out the other breadth of Javier's projects and follow up. Keep in the loop for his productized service coming out, for his product per month, whatever he ends up deciding to do. It's going to be very exciting to watch. So thanks so much again, Javier, for being on here, man.
Thank you so much for having me. That was super fun. Thank you.
All right, man. We'll do it again later on, man. Once you've launched like 25 more products, we'll get in there again.
Sure.
All right, man.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Always Building. If you want to learn more about Always Building, our community, our membership group, and exclusive webinars and trainings and discounts on software and all kinds of fun stuff, get help along the journey so you're not all alone, go ahead and check out alwaysbuilding.io. That's alwaysbuilding.io. And again, thank you so much. Best of luck on your journey, and you just let me know. You can reach out to me on Twitter or via email, alex@alwaysbuilding.io, or @always_building on Twitter. Okay, thanks again. Have a great one.